We've got to get Peter to the Brownlow and get him going crazy. Every three voter, we want to cross straight to Peter.
I love it.
It's good. It's great to watch, isn't it, boys?
That was very cool. It is one of the best things we do have in the footy. Yeah.
Leigh Montagna, good to have you here. All right, so we're with Collingwood as a starting point. The Pies in sinking.
Yeah, so I guess we're looking at what they're doing, and it's brilliant. It's all conquering in full flow. But behind the ball, there's been a little bit of shift and change through the course of the year. They've had Frampton down there at the start of the year. They had to use him in the ruck. And they've been challenged for personnel. And I think the heavy reliance on Darcy Moore, he's matched. He's matched the ask or the task, if you like, from Craig McRae. And I just want to show what that looks like in terms of... You often just see what's in the TV screen and you've got no idea what in reality has happened. So when you see this last week, you think, oh, no, he's been beaten again by Aaron Norton in the air, and you think, gee, he's having a bad night. Hey, he's getting taken to the cleaners. He's had 29 goals kicked against him in the reverse Coleman, if you like, Joey, which is about top 10 or 11. So that's just a guide only. But this is that exact mark. So he's covering Jamari Ugle-Hagan there, going up the left of screen, outside of 50. But because he can cover everything, he does. So Murphy trades up, and then they're one short behind the ball. This happens every time the ball goes inside 50 against Collingwood. Every time. But because they've got such speed and such understanding what each other's doing, they generally have a way to get away with it, to get in and diffuse the problem. Now, what this guy does, I find remarkable. So he will leave dangerous opponents to shut down the opposition ball movement. So he doesn't care what his man gets. So he trades up and goes up and covers English and leaves Norton in a dangerous spot because he knows he's in behind him. And then he just works his way back, says, OK, we've lost that one, it's a free kick, it's going to Waitman, no problem, I'll get back and help the boys out in the leading lane down back and I'll try and shut that down. So Waitman looks up and says, well, I can't kick it to Darcy Moore. So he's already beaten them once on the wing and then he stops them going direct, so they have to find another option, another avenue, and then your chance comes to pick it off. Another one diffused. Now, he doesn't get a possession for that. He gets nothing for that. And you don't see that on TV. Same thing again here. He's on Ugle-Hagan, but he's charging up because Norton's his match-up, really, but he's just guarding the leading lane as well for you guys. So he's the 1.5 defence. Half, three-quarters on one player, three-quarters on another, forces a high ball, they win it back. Now, he doesn't get any joy for that, except for the fact that he's helped his team. So they're gettable. They are gettable. If you win this contest, and there's times it's 5v3, 6v3, so they are gettable, and this is the worry, Joey, that we talk about constantly. If they win that, it's 5 Collingwood and 1 Dogs and they're off the races, and that's what you see on the TV screen. But if they lose it, you can concede some scores. So he's the number 1 rated defender in the competition in the last 6 weeks. He's top 3 for intercept. He's having an awesome year, Darcy Moore, but he's doing more than that. So I just wonder if they need to have a mainstay in behind him. Someone like a Frampton who can do bits and pieces in the ruck as well if need be and sacrifice a forward, because that's the threat. That's the worry. If they're going to get beaten in a cutthroat final, it'll be because someone's had 10 minutes against them in a contest inside 50 or just outside, and they'll be walking goals. Every team's studying it. Everyone's looking. I still think Craig McRae's got a couple of tricks in the back pocket to come late. Well, they don't expose them at round 13, 14, 15. And I wonder if Frampton's that guy. What do you think?
Well, does that throw the system out is my first thought. That system they play that he's so aggressive, and if they have the one guy that is more sort of focused on his man, does that affect the rest of the system?
I'm not saying he has to play one-on-one. He can be part of that. Yeah. He was there for half a dozen weeks as a defender, and in that time they were the number 1 midfield intercept team in the competition. So I just wonder whether they'll go back to that. I don't know. I've got no idea. But I think they have to have another look at it. They have to revisit it again in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now with Howe back as well, I reckon you can have two players that can be those zone-off players. You look at that and you think, God, he reads the ball really well, he makes really good ground, but you think there's an element of it that he probably doesn't really trust a lot of the defenders because there is no big sort of gorilla that is a lockdown type of defender. And I know at Hawthorn we had Brian Lake was that one where you just go to a Hawkins or a Dixon or someone like that, and either a Stratton or a Gibson just knows that contest is done. So now I can focus on the 4 or 5 others that I can try and impact. I think it's a good point. You know, to get Frampton back and to just have that one lockdown defender allows him to make less decisions and less running.
All right, the lab work is all for zero. Joey, Carlton's salvage mission threatens to become a resurgence. What's the core of it?
Well, that's right. The question is, first of all, is the why. Why are they playing this way now? Is it the pressure's off, or has it been a work in progress that, you know, now they're finding their best footy? I probably think it's somewhere in between. But when you look at the how, what are they doing that has given them this opportunity to potentially, if they can knock off Port, be a threat to make the 8? And for me, it's been their clearance game. So when last year we all fell in love with the Blues, it was off the back of their power out of stoppage and their scoring ability. And for whatever reason this year, it was no longer their greatest weapon. It wasn't an asset for them. You can see rounds 1 to 13, but they've rediscovered it in the last month. And I just want to take a couple of examples of what it looks like and the power that they've got back in this forward handball game to break away. And they're all getting involved. When you look at the players of Cripps and Chera are both now top 12 in the competition over the last month, player rating-wise. I've loved the inclusion of David Cunningham, who's come back in the last 3 weeks as that high half forward with running ability. They've moved Sam Doherty out to the wing, and they're now just playing with this explosiveness and this leg drive and this hunt that put them on the map at the start of last year. And I think now this is their greatest weapon that potentially could trouble Port Adelaide. I've just watched this game back today, Geordie, and I know you did, and I'm just got a gut feel. Could the Blues, they're all confident now, could they actually trouble Port Adelaide with this ability to drive out of stoppage?
Oh, I think you've hit the nail on the head. There's comfort as a midfielder to go and attack and really get in and pressure if you've got other players that are up there supporting the periphery. We understand that Cripps and Chera and these types of guys are not outside bulls. So when you bring the half forwards up, allow Cripps to go to work and get on the move. I mean, that game there, Cripps was out in the open.
Yeah.
So that was... But I reckon you're right. I reckon they've got a really good mix at the moment. Their half forwards are the right half forwards coming up. And they could cause...
It troubled a lot of teams last year, so let's just see what it does on the run home.
The dangerous tackle scenario for the watch list. So I'll give you both a bite at this. We're up to 25 suspensions for 33 weeks. Last night's was right at the margins, and after a deliberation of about 90 minutes, it came back because Caleb Sarong was suspended for a week. Yeah, well, you only have to look at the players who have been interviewed post this one. I mean, I really think he shows a duty of care there, Sarong. I know he pins the arm, but he could really dump Chera on his head. So are we now going more action-based or more outcome-based? Because that action right there, if you sit down over a weekend of football, would happen 30 to potentially 40 times. And does his head hit the ground? It grazes the ground. But Chera goes on. So this was the 8-minute mark to go in the second quarter. His third quarter, 11 touches, 5 inside 50, whatever it might be. So there was no impact to Chera whatsoever. So if we're going to ban the action now, is what I see there, well then there'll be a lot more players suspended.
I'm uncomfortable with Zach Merritt being ineligible for the Brownlow medal because of this tackle that we'll show. And I think we'll make a change to it at the end of the year. I think we'll address the severity of the penalty at the moment, and I fear that it could cost him a Brownlow medal. Seen it happen in the past with McKernan and Grant with things that are no longer penalties, that are no longer a week. Tripping, I think it was.
Tripping for the Rising Star.
Yeah.
And it was the advent of the video review used in a slightly different way. So
that, to me, I don't think is enough to stop a guy winning a Brownlow. He's coming 5th at the moment in the Coaches Award. OK, you can say that's the rule of the day and it stands. If it's changed at the end of the year, I'd feel sick with that. I'm worried that we will go down that path. If we don't, terrific. But this guy's having a terrific year. I'd hate to see Brownlow night, the little asterisks, finishing top.
Yeah. But you do have to be the fairest by the rules of the day.
I don't think that was an unfair act as such. It's different to the old fair. There's a new fair in town.
Yeah. But the old fair is 30 years ago, not 1 year ago.
This is new. This is new.
This part of it is new, but as you rightly point out, we had a tripping crackdown for 1 year. There was only 1 year.
I think this will be 1 year, Jerry. I think at this level,
it's not without precedent.
At the nth degree like we are now, I think it'll be 1 year.
Hawthorn, the handball happy Hawks, which was really going well for a few weeks.
Yes.
Has it gone too far?
Well, that's now the question, because we're looking at Hawthorn in regards to the long term and what the what the trend and the trends are going forward in regards to how you want to play. And there's been a lot of talk about the Hawks becoming this handball-happy team, but in the last 8 weeks, they may have overdone it because 4 out of the 8 weeks, they've actually had more handballs than kicks. Now, to put that in context, only one other team has done that for the whole year, and that was Fremantle in that game against Brisbane at the Gabba, where they completely threw out their game plan. But no one else has done it, and they've done it 4 times in 8 weeks. So it's just interesting, though. I want to raise the question about, look at the teams there that have got the most metres gained from handball. So Giants and Essendon have got new coaches. We know Richmond have done it, and it's been the benchmark for a long time. Collingwood are the new benchmark, and Hawthorn are trying, and Sam Mitchell's been public about it, finding the new edge in what the football's going to look like going forward. I just wonder where this handball game is something he's thinking, can I get ahead of the rest of the competition that the rest of them might do? Because new coaches are doing it, and Hawthorn are taking it to the nth degree. You saw their kick-to-handball ratio compared to every other team since round 5. It is by far more than the rest of the competition. And when it's come off, it's looked sensational. And they beat St Kilda this day. They obviously beat Brisbane as well, playing this run-and-gun handball game. But then we've seen it at other times where it's gone a bit too far, and they've run themselves into pressure. So I'm just curious to see what they do with it for the back end of the year. And is this something that is going to continue to be a trend going forward? Because I had to go back to sort of 2009 when teams were having this much handball metres gained. Like the Bulldogs had a high handball game 2016, but that was a lot of a round and sort of a round contest, not this forward handball. But the Hawks have just been getting themselves into trouble the last couple of weeks, in particular this game. Now teams are onto it. So the Giants' pressure to come forward and get after them really troubled Hawthorn. It's just a watch, Geordie. I don't know whether it's by design, whether they've overdone it, whether it's something they're just looking at, but it's just something I want to keep an eye on while they've got a free hit for the end of this season and see if other teams with new coaches want to continue this trend going forward.
Great lab work for Zero. Just a note at the end, I got Kingy on his high horse. No, just Kingy on horse. Did you want a quick nod to John Longmire as he reaches game 300 as coach?
He's done well. He's 4 grand finals as a coach. He's been a master. You know, no one survives that duration if you're not. But it's 500 all up. 200 as a player. It's a guy kicked 14 goals in a game, 12 goals in a game as a full forward. He's done a great job to hide his sense of humour for 30 years. He's given us nothing every time we interview him and talk to him. But we say well done. He's been an absolute star. All ends up in the AFL cycle.